Scottsdale Artbeat.
Scottsdale Artbeat.
Scottsdale Artbeat.
Scottsdale Artbeat. Cool, Daddy.
You might be wondering why I'm wearing these sunglasses in the studio today. Well, it's not because the lights are too bright. They're actually a representation for my guest today. I'm Diane Bykowski, and this is Scottsdale Artbeat. I have the privilege today of introducing you and all of Scottsdale to an emerging, multifaceted artist, Deidra Nietz. Welcome to Scottsdale Artbeat, Deidra.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Those are quite unusual sunglasses.
Yes, they are.
Now, do you want to wear them the entire time today?
Not today, no. I'll take them off.
That would probably be a good idea. So tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in Arizona. I went to Saguaro High School and I pursued a physical education degree at SCC and Arizona State University.
And did you actually get your degree in physical education?
I did, yes.
What were your original intents?
My original intents were to go into physical education and become a teacher. And just with the job market in the teaching world right now, I'm keeping all my doors open and exploring some new facets in my life. And right now I'm still doing substitute teaching. And hopefully I'll be able to pursue that in the future as well.
And how does art fit into this whole regime?
Well, my entire life I've always doodled, sketched, I've always painted, and I've always been very creative. And it's just kind of always been there, and just recently I've been really pursuing it and exploring it more and more.
So as a child, did you find yourself sitting in your room and coloring and doodling outside of the lines and that type of thing?
Absolutely, I did, yes.
Did you find any inspiration that got you started in that?
Yes, actually, when I was in elementary school, I watched a lot of anime cartoons. They had the Sailor Moon cartoons. I was really, really into that. And the artwork in it was something that I had never seen before. And so I decided to kind of try my hand at that style of artwork at first.
Could you tell our viewers who might not know what the anime series looks like, what they might see?
They have very big eyes, very, very big eyes. Their hair is kind of all over the place. Very strange, unique outfits. It's definitely a different style of cartoon from,
So it's a cartoonish type of art.
Absolutely.
Would you say it fits kind of the pop art
yes,
view?
Absolutely it does.
And are they very colorful? Are they primarily black and white?
Very colorful, depending on the cartoon. Sailor Moon was very colorful.
So you liked reading these and then you pursued drawing some of them as well.
Yes.
So that's where it all started. Now what about when you were in high school? Did you take any art classes there?
I did. When I was at Saguaro, I took art all 4 years. I took honors art. And I really enjoyed the time that I got to spend in the classroom. It helped me focus. It kind of took my mind off of all the other things that were going on in my life. And so it was just a really nice outlet.
Were you actually involved in what they call AP art?
Yes, I was.
So then you had to have a little portfolio done and a resume that went with it. Did you find your art classes there to be stifling or inspiring? How did you feel about that?
They were very inspiring, especially all the other students that were in the class with me. I had a couple of my friends that were in the class, and so their style was much different from mine, but they had their own style. My art style was a little scattered at the time. I hadn't really found my niche yet, but I was interested in a lot of different things.
In fact, that's one of the things I saw on your site that talked about, or you sent me an email about being scattered. Did that discourage you at all with your teachers when you heard that they said your art was a little scattered?
Not necessarily. I was very scattered though. I actually made a series of handbags out of magazine clippings that I had found. And then I had my paintings as well that I had used acrylic with, and I had also put some magazine pieces into my acrylic and made some mixed media. But it didn't really all fit one genre. It was really all over the place, and I think I just hadn't really found my niche yet. I had all of these ideas.
And they were just going and materializing at that point. So they were in the embryonic stage, so to speak. So what stage are you at now?
Right now I still feel like I'm at that stage, but I know what I like. And about 8 or 9 months ago, I started to, I guess, just kind of vomit all these creative ideas out. and I decided to really pursue them, and that's what I had done in high school. I just kind of vomited all of these really creative ideas, and I didn't really know what to do with them. And now every time I'm coming up with all these ideas, I'm going after them immediately, whether they be inspired from dreams or my influences. So I guess I'm kind of honoring my vomit right now.
I have to go back to that word vomit primarily for our viewers. Most people think of that as something non-appetizing, so to speak. Have you intentionally chosen that word to go with some of your art?
Absolutely. I think, you know, when you have ideas, sometimes they don't always make sense, and they may not make sense to other people. And I chose the word vomit just because, you know, when you have a raw idea, it may not be accepted by everyone that sees it, but it could only be accepted by you. So as you really start the creative process, and when you have the idea and you pursue it and you honor it, and go after exactly what your idea was, you can make it beautiful in your own way.
You know, and it seems like so much of contemporary art may not necessarily be something that someone would hang behind their sofa.
Right.
But it certainly has a message for contemporary society. You have one piece here that I believe is called Meat in the Toilet.
Yes.
And I don't know if you were aware of an exhibition that was in Chicago a couple of years ago, but it was a series of toilets having different things coming out of them. And it was a type of thing where most people said, why is that even art?
Yes.
So could you possibly have that reaction from some of your viewers as well when they first look at it?
Oh, absolutely. I've actually had a lot of people look at me and say, are you okay? After they look at my paintings. But actually, a lot of my ideas, they come from dreams that I've had, and I have very vivid dreams, and I don't necessarily always dream in color, but red is a color that always really sticks out to me, which is why I use red in my paintings.
And you're wearing red today, too.
Yes, I love red.
So that's one of your colors.
Absolutely.
It seems like the paintings that we have behind us have either black, white, shades of gray, and then red. Are those your primary things that you deal with?
Absolutely. I've worked with colors before, but I really like black and white, just because, you know, when I have a vision or if I dream something, I always see it in black and white first. And I can always add the colors later if I really desired to, but I really wanted to honor my original ideas. And
when we think about it, black is the presence of all colors, and white is the absence of all colors. So you really are encompassing everything then.
Absolutely.
Does that kind of fit your idea where I believe you told me that everyone has a dark and a light side? Absolutely.
Just recently, I kind of explored my dark and my light side. I think that you have to find a balance. And you know, when you're creating, you can create in a sense where everything could be good and in the light, but at the same time you're still ignoring that dark side of you. And so it's good to, you know, kind of encompass both of those things in your artwork and in your creative ideas, because if you ignore one side, you tend to ignore yourself. And I think it's important to just kind of completely embrace yourself and incorporate that in everything that you do.
And who are some of the people who have inspired you?
I actually have a lot of inspirational people that I look up to and mentors. I really like H.R. Geiger. His work is absolutely amazing. I also love William Blake. He was a poet, but he also did a lot of paintings. And I really love his work. And not only that, but performing artists as well. I love Elton John. I love Grace Jones.
And they all kind of fit together.
Yes.
Besides the paintings that we see here, I see we have some shoes.
Yes.
Can you talk to us a little bit about this?
Absolutely. Well, basically, I decided to get really creative one day because I wanted a pair of shoes that really popped out. And I decided to just kind of completely cover the shoe with rhinestones. And I spent maybe 4 or 5 hours doing this pair of shoes. And I put the rhinestones on the bottom of it, on the sides, just basically everywhere. I think another form of art is fashion. And
is that why you're holding that hat?
Yes, absolutely.
Or mask? What is that?
This is a hat. This hat was inspired by Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland is one of my favorite stories. I think it's brilliant. His writing is brilliant, and it's unique. It's a look at things that could be seen by adults and children, and it turns it into something for everyone, because Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, they aren't really children's books. And The White Rabbit actually inspired me to make this. I was sitting there, I had some leftover paper plates and some rhinestones left over from my shoes, and I said, okay, I think I'm going to make this
What could I do with these?
Yeah, what can I do with this?
And did that serve as an inspiration for one of the paintings behind us as well?
Yes, it did. It served as an inspiration for my bona fide painting. I wanted to incorporate this hat with a person and make it a little bit different, and this is actually my favorite painting just because the hat was inspired from Alice in Wonderland, and that's how it started, and there's actually lace embedded on the painting, so it's mixed media.
Okay. Deidre, let's talk about some of the paintings that are behind us as well as those that are on your Etsy site. The one I'd like to start with is a painting that you entitled Madre. Could you tell our viewers about that painting?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of my paintings are inspired by dreams, like I said, and I had a dream that a friend of mine had more than one breast, I guess. And
okay.
I actually called her and told her about it. I was laughing, and she just started cracking up, and she says, well, you have to paint that.
And you thought, oh my.
Yeah,
okay.
I kind of laughed at her, and I said, are you sure you want me to paint that? And she says, I think it would be really, really funny. And I said, okay. And so I kind of, gathered my ideas, and I decided to paint it for her. And I think if you are an artist, you do need to have a sense of humor. You can't take art too seriously or too logically, because if you think logically, you're never going to understand the underlying meanings in it.
And what else is in that painting besides just the double set of breasts?
Right. Well, she is sitting there in kind of a high fashion pose, this woman, and she has these little tips on her fingers, and it looks like she has claws almost. In the dream that I had a dream there were kittens running around everywhere too. And the claws are kind of inspired from that. And also just because her body isn't the typical human body, I thought it would be fun to kind of add a little bit of fashion to her overall look and have the tipped fingers. So she has these claws. She just looks extremely different and morphed, and yet it's somewhat seductive somehow.
And all of those emotions are in there as well. And when people would think about it, kittens and cats do procreate quite a bit, and so you have all of these images that are in this painting. You mentioned fashion. High fashion photographers, do they fit into your feelings at all, or are you inspired by them?
Absolutely. Actually, there's one photographer in particular. His name is Nick Knight, and he does a lot of pictures for Vogue. He does a lot of photography for the high fashion magazines, and he just takes some absolutely beautiful pictures. He actually did some pictures for Alexander McQueen as well, and his collections. And the pictures are just so abstract and so beautiful, and you know what he's trying to portray just from looking at it.
Right,
and
they're not just photographs.
Absolutely, yes.
Do you ever find yourself watching, what's the TV show that who's going to be the next American model?
Oh yeah, America's Next Top Model. I do, and I love the photos that they take, and I love the things that they do. I feel like art is kind of a lifestyle. Art is your lipstick, it's your mascara, it's your eyeliner, it's what you wear every day, it's how you carry yourself. It's something that completely should encompass your entire being.
And that's basically what's happening with your art as well.
Absolutely.
Now, there was a piece called Pretending.
Yes.
And that one to me looked like you had, oh gosh, I don't know. Why don't you explain it to our viewers?
Pretending is actually a painting about just kind of pretending to be something that you're not. And
we all do that in some respect.
Absolutely, yes. And it's a painting of a girl. She has really long black hair, and there's two ravens on the top of her head. The ravens were inspired by Lewis Carroll in the Alice in Wonderland. The Mad Hatter asks, why is a raven like a writing desk? And throughout the entire book, there's really not an answer. So she has these ravens on the top of her head. She's sitting there with her head down. She seems a little embarrassed, and she's kind of hiding behind her hair. And her hair, it seems, is kind of who she is. She's letting her hair be who she is. And, at one point in my life, I kind of pretended to be something that I wasn't, because I wanted to fit in, or, you know, I wanted to have a certain amount of friends or be with a certain group of friends. And that painting just kind of shows the emotions behind that experience in my life.
And I think so many people try to fit in, as you say. I remember you telling me that at one point in your life you were bullied too.
I was, yes. It was about 6th or 7th grade. I started to get kind of bullied for the way that I looked. I matured a lot faster than a lot of my other friends. So I looked a little bit different. I had the acne. I was starting.
You were ahead of your time.
I was ahead of my time, yes.
And you are now with your art too, I think.
I think so, thank you. But, you know, I kind of got bullied a little bit for the way that I looked, or, you know, the way that I acted. And of course, I always had a really good group of friends with me who shared the same feelings that I did, so I had them to support me. But when I didn't have my friends around, I would go home and I'd go in my room and I'd put on some headphones, or I'd turn up the stereo really loud and I would draw, or I would sing in front of the mirror, and I would dress up in just crazy outfits, things that I had in my closet, and I would sing in the mirror.
Are any of these things in your paintings today?
Yes, absolutely.
Could you tell us about one?
Sure. There's a painting that I have called Vanity. Vanity is kind of about just fame, fortune, and just kind of an art of being famous and all the material things that kind of come into our lives and that we're influenced by. The painting is of a woman. She's laying in a casket and she has a cigarette in her hands.
If I remember correctly, isn't there a raven in the far bottom left corner?
Yes, yes, and that actually was inspired from Alice in Wonderland still. I think the ravens are actually very smart creatures. They're very intelligent, and they're actually one of the smartest birds in the bird kingdom. And
you know, when I looked at it, I thought of Edgar Allan Poe.
Yes, absolutely. I love Edgar Allan Poe. The poem, The Raven, you know, I think it just embodies everything that the animal is and that it represents to pop culture and society.
And so, quote the raven nevermore, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Now, in that casket, I think you said it's kind of a glamorous death, too.
It is, yes. She has sunglasses on. There's smoke coming out of her mouth from the cigarette. And she's laying, just kind of covering herself almost in a fashionista pose, a high fashion pose. And so it's almost like everything in pop culture and everything that pop culture tells us to be, or that we want to be, just from seeing images of famous people and images of women in magazines. You know, it kind of brought her to a slow and glamorous death.
Now, we're familiar with landscapes, seascapes, cityscapes, and you mentioned dreams and dreamscapes. So would you say that's a series that you have going?
Yes, absolutely. I'm very in tune with the dreams that I have, and I remember my dreams very vividly, so I take those ideas and I put them on canvas.
And if you can't remember everything, I believe you have a photographer that helps you get through some of these things so you don't forget?
Yes, absolutely.
So how does that work?
If I ever have an idea that I just can't seem to you know, put on canvas, or it's in my mind but I don't have the imagery for it, I have a friend with Sevens Photography, and she actually comes over and she'll take some pictures for me, either of me or of things that I've been inspired by, and it helps me see the photographs and see the imagery, so I can look at that and then say, okay, that's what I'm going to put on the canvas.
Right, because sometimes you can't just start painting after you wake up, I'm
right.
sure.
Absolutely not.
And so you have to have something to work from. The Dreamscape series, how many paintings are in that series?
The particular series of the Dreamscapes, it has 4 different ones in it.
And do we have any of those with us today?
Yes, we do.
Which 2?
We have the meat in the toilet, and we also have werewolf.
Okay, talk to me about werewolf. It's the red hand that kind of looks like it's coming out of nowhere. It's like a claw.
It looks like a claw, yes. Well, I had a dream that I was walking in a hotel room and I was kissed by a boy. And, you know, I closed my eyes and I was kissing him, and then when I opened my eyes, he turned into a werewolf, and he was just this completely different person. And the dream was somewhat seductive, and, you know, I thought, okay, well, what better to represent the change than our hands, because we use our hands for a lot of expressions. And so I took the color red because I remember red from my dream, and I decided just to paint a hand to kind of represent the change. You know, it's very fierce. It looks like it's coming at you. And that to me represented the dream that I had had.
And now meat in the toilet, we talked a little bit about it earlier, but you really never told us the dream that inspired that.
This is one of the funniest dreams I think I've ever had. I think dreams are really funny because they don't make any sense most of the time. But I had a dream that I needed to use the restroom very, very badly. And every time I went into the restroom, the meat was just completely stuffed in the toilet and I couldn't use the restroom.
Oh.
And so I woke up and I kind of like laughed at myself and I said, I should paint that.
And so you did.
So I did. That painting is very literal.
Many of them are metaphoric, but that one is actually literal.
Very.
Now, what about temptation? I'm looking at that one behind me right now, or to the side of me. Vacancy, sex, implants, seduction, bang, bang, open, and then a woman in fishnet
Yes.
stockings carrying a rosary. Kind of ironic there, but could you explain that one?
Absolutely. I think symbolism is really important, especially in the art world. She's holding a rosary because she's really nervous. She's innocent, and she's faced with all of these things in society. You know, you see sex, drugs, you know, music, alcohol, all of these things that can have a high influence on people, but some people are influenced in the wrong ways. So here's this woman, she's innocent, she's nervous, she's kind of scared, and she's faced with all of these things, and the neon signs are kind of the propaganda of it all.
Okay.
And she's staring at it, not sure what to do, but...
And what direction to go, because her feet don't look like they quite know what direction to head.
Right. She's not sure if she should walk towards it. She's not sure if she should turn away. Just because it is so mainstream, it's common, especially nowadays in the media and in society, that she's just kind of faced with all of these really difficult decisions, and she needs to make the
Now,
one that's best for
behind
her.
us, we're seeing the red lips. I believe
Yes.
that's autobiographical in a way, or self-portrait.
Yes, it is.
And how does that fit?
Well, most artists have at least one self-portrait of themselves. And I didn't want to do the typical self-portrait. I wanted to do something a little different. I didn't want to just paint, you know, a headshot of myself or, you know, like the yearbook picture of myself. So my lips are always something that I've been a little bit insecure about, but unique to me. I was born with a little birthmark that was like a divot in the top of my lip. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll paint that. And I had
And why not capitalize on it, right?
Absolutely, yes. And I actually put glitter in the painting because I had had lip gloss on when I was looking at my lips. And I said, okay, well, why not put the glitter in there? One, I love glitter, and two, it makes it a little more fun.
And talking about glitter, we looked at that one shoe earlier. There's another shoe here too. So let's pick this one up and talk about it for a moment. Do you actually wear these?
I do.
You do. Aren't you afraid that they're almost like a weapon in the back here? Can you talk about this particular shoe?
Sure. Well, and they kind of look like a weapon because that way no one will mess with me if I'm
Well, there you
wearing
go.
them.
You don't want that werewolf to come and get you. Huh?
Absolutely. These shoes were actually inspired by Alexander McQueen.
For those viewers who don't know who he is, could you tell us?
Absolutely. He actually passed away a couple of years ago. I believe it was 2009. And he has been a fashion designer, high fashion especially. He's designed very unique items. He's had a pair of shoes that look like lobster claws. He's had outfits that are completely made of metal. And they're just really unique items. And
Things that you probably wouldn't wear on the street,
Absolutely.
but make an artistic statement.
Yes. And there are a lot of you know, famous individuals that wear Alexander McQueen's clothes, and he custom makes them. He actually makes a lot of...
Sounds like a Lady Gaga kind of stuff.
Kind of, yeah. She's a really big fan of him. But he also makes clothes for the Queen, and he designed in the recent royal wedding, he designed the wedding dress for the royal wedding, and a lot of the bridesmaids' dresses as well.
For the royal wedding that, well, it couldn't be the one that just happened.
It was.
So he designed that prior to his death, obviously.
He did, yeah. He actually has an assistant that
Okay.
has kind of taken over.
All right, there
you know,
was
all of
one
his
hat,
designs.
though, that made a statement. Do you remember
Oh
that
gosh,
one?
yes, I do.
Is that something that you would love to own?
Probably, just because it's fun, it's different. It's not something you typically see people wear.
Is there any other painting that you would like to talk about?
I'm trying to think what else I've got here.
What do you want to say why Bonafide is your favorite?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Bonafide is my favorite, I think, just because the inspiration came from fashion, and I actually put lace in the painting.
I think you like to do mixed media.
I do. I really enjoy it.
The texture that's there.
The texture, it's different. It makes certain elements pop out from the canvas. And I particularly like this one because I worked really hard on it. And I was originally just going to put a woman, and I decided, okay, well, why not make this a little bit different and kind of paint her face in the shape of a skull, you know, putting the markings on there. You can still see her lips, but you would see where, you know,
and
the
I
teeth
think
would
that's what makes it most interesting. You don't have a typical, usual portrait of someone. You've taken a different angle to all of it. So, as an emerging artist, where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Hopefully in a gallery.
And a museum?
And a museum, hopefully.
Because you certainly have statements to make.
Oh, thank you.
Deidre, if our viewers would like to contact you or purchase some of your art or have custom-made shoes for some event, how would they do that?
Well, you can contact me via Facebook at D Nietz, which is DNIETZ, or you can look me up on Etsy.com. I sell my paintings there. And
are your shoes on there too?
My shoes are not on there yet.
Okay, but they may be someday.
They may be someday.
Well, and maybe even your sunglasses.
Maybe.
So I would like to thank you for joining me on Scottsdale Artbeat. I'm Diane Bykowski, and thank you too for joining us today. And remember, keep art alive.
There you go.
Aren't you laughing?